Hey, Eagle fans! Your Statesboro Walmart is your one-stop shop for all your Georgia Southern football and game day needs. Pick up your GSU sports gear here. We have t-shirts, hats, tote bags, koozies, stadium bleacher seats, car spirit flags, wall pennants, beads, and more right here at the best prices in town. Also, don't forget we can handle all of your tailgating needs with our great food trays, baked goods, and fresh, high-quality meat, seafood, and chicken.
Walmart. Save money. Live better. Walmart.
On this week's show, we review last week's Sunbelt opener, a victory on the road at Idaho, and preview this week's matchup as Georgia Southern looks to make it 2 in a row in the league, traveling to Louisiana Monroe. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles' Nest. And welcome inside the Eagles' Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, the sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, Georgia Southern goes on the road. Struggled a little bit there in the first half, but really turned it on in the second half, dismissing Idaho and the Vandals on the road. Plenty to be optimistic about after coming off another victory, especially being a road victory.
Overall, another solid game for Georgia Southern. A little bit of jet lag, maybe that was a long trip out there, leaving even a day early to try to adjust to that 3-hour time difference. And I wouldn't quite call it sluggish, but a couple of plays that weren't quite up to the standard to this coaching staff early on in the game, settling for field goals instead of touchdowns. But by the time the second quarter, especially the second half, rolled around, this looked like the Georgia Southern team that we've seen for the last couple of weeks. Big gashing running plays, another incredible performance by Matt Breida, one of the best runs of the year at any level, any conference that you'll see. That might stay true throughout the season. It might be one of the best you'll see all year long. But in the end, they got their business done. Now 9-0 as a member of the Sun Belt Conference, still undefeated since joining last season, but more importantly, 1-0 on this season.
I must say that run by Matt Breida, to me, I've been covering since 1990, and that's probably the best touchdown run. No offense, Adrian, yours wasn't a touchdown run, but that, as far as a touchdown run, cutting back against the grain, was pretty impressive. Well, this week, it's back on the road once again. They have to go down to Louisiana Monroe, a team that came up here and gave Georgia Southern all they could handle, had to hang on with the Matt Dobson great play to end the game and capture the Sun Belt Championship. But this time they go down there, and again, it's a team Coach Fritz has said not only does he know Coach Berry, but he knows that defense down there is going to be something they're going to have to look out for.
Well, I mentioned the 9-0 record since joining the Sun Belt. Georgia Southern, obviously the team with the biggest target on its back, and UL Monroe, they were the team that came closest to hitting that target last year, the only team to hold a lead against the Eagles in the fourth quarter, up 13-9 in that game. Georgia Southern able to come back. They did it kind of on an empty tank of gas. If you remember that last game of the season last year, both quarterbacks banged up, down to second and third stringers all over the depth chart, all over the field, but they were able to dig down and find a way. This is still a very tough ULM team. They've taken their lumps against Georgia, against Alabama, but they're going to come ready to play with a tough defense. Hopefully a little bit healthier, a little bit fresher Georgia Southern offense will be able to get things done earlier in the game this time around.
All right, well, let's hear from Coach Fritz and some of the players about taking on Louisiana Monroe.
Great teams, what they do is they go out and they got to win on the road. We want to repeat. We know we got to go face these tough teams on the road. We got to do it twice in a row. It's not going to be as much as time, like going back in time, as going back 3 time zones, but it's still going to go there and it's going to be a hostile environment. The boys going to be ready to play. They still feel like they can. They feel like they should have won last year, and we got to show them that we're for real.
Last year, they gave you all you could handle in the way for your Sun Belt Championship.
They do a lot of stuff. They shift a lot. They do a lot of different personnel. They just spread out. They do the ball, throw the ball a lot. It's going to be a really good eyes game. You gotta get your eyes, get your keys and communication. That's for us. And we got to be able to just fly around and hit like we've been doing.
We know we got to work hard. We got to make sure that we prepare this week. We had a great week of preparation last weekend. That paid off for us definitely in the second half. And this week we just want to repeat that when it comes to preparation, and hopefully we can put together a better game versus a great opponent. They were a great team last year. They're a great team this year. And that game right there really we had to pull out what really defined Georgia Southern football, and we just want to keep going back to that.
What's the challenge of going back-to-back on the road Sun Belt play?
You miss Paulson. That's probably really what it is. But really, nothing should be any different. Just it's an away crowd, but we're used to. We've all played in away games before, so nothing too big besides being away from those home fans.
It's not gonna be hard. I think it's gonna be pretty fun. We love going on those away trips. We just get that team bond a little bit more outside of being in Statesboro. Just going to Idaho, that was a long trip, and just on the flight, just studying the playbook, going watching a little film on the laptop. So it's good to have those away trips so you can get that bond with your teammates a little more.
What do you expect from them, X's and O's wise? They were a pretty good team, gave you all you could handle last year.
They're a very tough team. They're well coached. They're experienced defensively, and they do a great job of flying around and just making sure that they're at the ball. So we're going to have to just play smart, play a lot physical, and just keep the ball off the ground.
The conference games, a huge deal for us. Our guys travel well. If you've ever been on the road with us, there's not, their business. When it's time to enjoy themselves, they enjoy themselves. I've had very few problems, where I didn't think guys were focused and concentrating and ready to go. And shoot, I enjoy their company on the road. And I think they enjoy each other's company. So, that's the schedule. You got to be able to win on the road if you're going to win the conference. You can't just win home games. You got to win them all. And so, this will, compared to last week, this is going to be just a little stroll down the road.
As far as the competition goes, it should be a bit of a step up. You saw these guys at your place last year. They took you down to the wire. Your thoughts on going down there and taking on a good team?
Well, I got a lot of respect for their head coach, Todd Berry. I've known Todd a long time. He does a really nice job with his program. He's done a nice job every place he's been at. Going to be one of the best defenses that we face all season long. Run some 3-man front, 4-man front. They're very sound. They run extremely well to the ball, tackle well. They're not afraid to play man coverage. Matter of fact, they play man coverage most of the time. So that'll be a tremendous challenge for our offense.
We also had an opportunity to get some video to show you what Coach Berry and some of his players think about hosting Georgia Southern.
Personally, I feel like that no matter what they do, if we just come out and do what we know we can do, it doesn't really matter if they come with the odd or even. If we just stay on our keys and our reads and do what we do, it'll work out.
Georgia Southern's a great team, won conference and everything. And so, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of, I'm just saying, whoop up on the perceived conference champs from last year and possibly a contender for this year. So, it'll be good to just show them what we have, and it'll be a fun game.
Georgia Southern's an option-based offense. It's one of the few that we're going to see this year, and they're very, very good at it. Their quarterback's outstanding. He does a really, really nice job in doing it. They're running more formations than what they did last year, and so they even make it more complicated. They got an outstanding running back, and obviously leading the nation in rushing yards. Time of possession is going to be a factor, obviously, in this ball game because that's kind of the nature of their style of offense. And then defensively, I think they're improved from what they were last year, and I've been really impressed with kind of what they've done defensively. They give you an awful lot of multiple looks that we really haven't seen this year, again. And so this is going to have some uniqueness for us on both sides of the football. And then their kicking game has been very consistent. They play extremely hard, and they play very disciplined, and so that's part of the reason why they've had success.
Well, Mike, it's now that time in the show where we kind of get your take and my take on what we think things are going to do down there, and I think, again, it's going to be much like last year. I see it being a fairly low-scoring game. Georgia Southern's defense, you've mentioned throughout the year, they've kind of been the unsung heroes. I think they're going to make another big play when they have to, and Georgia Southern goes down there and wins by what I believe is going to be about a field goal. I'd be surprised if it's much more than a touchdown.
See, I'm going to have to be the playing the devil's advocate there. I think a lot of people think that this is going to be a tooth and nail game. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think that this is a more comfortable game, albeit in a less comfortable environment. It's going to be hostile down there, but I think that some fresher running backs, a healthy Kevin Ellison. Even before he left that game last year, his arm was a little dinged up. The passing game was suffering. I think that the Eagles come out, get a couple of big plays that eluded them in last year's meeting. ULM, on the other hand, they don't have the firepower, a good freshman quarterback, but I don't think they have the weapons to keep up with Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern not going to be able to run it up and down the field as they did on Idaho. I don't foresee 44 points, but I think this is somewhere in the neighborhood of a 10-point win for the Eagles.
All right, well, we're both saying Georgia Southern victories, and I think if you could tell them that they're coming out from 2 road games with 2 wins, they'd take it. Before we go, Mike, let's mention a little bit about some other sports going on, soccer, and I guess the bigger news is the golf team right now is in a great position, even though some of their returning people aren't playing to the level you might expect.
Well, the men's golf team first in their first tournament of the year, a second place finish in the Sun Belt Preview this week. They'll go out of the country. They're going down to Mexico to compete. Always fun to get out of the country playing international tournaments. They've gone to Scotland before, gone out to Hawaii before staying in the country, but 2 very good finishes in their 2 tournaments. It's getting some national attention. They're now ranked 27th in the nation per the Golf Week standings, so very good start for them. And then for the ladies, they competed in their first tournament 2 weeks ago, 15th out of 17 there, but they got right back in the game, went up to Greenville, a tournament hosted by East Carolina. They finished 8th out of the 17-person field.
All right, and as for soccer and volleyball, they're both in action and have a couple of home games coming up, and then they're still fairly early in their conference schedule, much like football. We'll let you know how they're doing next week. But for now, that'll wrap things up. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.